be reading poetry. So it's kind of a painter poet tour, very different than typical tours that you would see, especially I think for that length, like bands, going out for a while and whatnot. So it's kind of experimental visual art and literary art going and trying to do something like this. So it's different and hoping it works. I think it will, so we'll see. But I'm pretty confident. Anyway, so yeah, we'll be going out for a year, basically, doing shows at universities, random coffee shops, kind of wherever the local venues will have us. And my part in this, as most of you know, because it's kind of all I do, is I'll be doing poetry readings and talking about the art of poetry and kind of what I'm trying to achieve in it and make people aware that it isn't art, because I think you'd be surprised to find how many people just kind of disregard it, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised to find if you go into Barnes & Noble or something and see the endless shelves of books of poetry that are just sitting there and not being read. And that's really what I'd like to change, and so that's kind of my purpose on this trip. Also, I'll be trying to sell my own self-published book called Centrifuge, which are for sale in that little nook right between these two rooms. Woo! That's fun! Okay, Natalie, we love her. I needed some background music. Sorry, I like it. So anyway, this is my book, Centrifuge. It was very, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say this. It was very quickly constructed, but it wasn't. I mean, I kind of had a couple weeks to get it together because the time that it takes to send it to the publisher, wait for the proofing process to get done, send back, and finally arrive at the finished product takes a lot of time. And so the time I actually had to compile it was probably about 2 weeks. But yet at the same time, I feel like it wasn't a rush. It was rushed, but it wasn't, because there were poems that I've been working on probably for the last year, and I definitely noticed running themes in my poetry. Like, it seemed to me there were kind of 3 general sections that all my poems seemed to fit into, and the main overriding theme was just kind of the human response to the human experience, just the different ways that we handle the things that we go through. 3 moods or 3 purposes, I guess you could say. And what I was surprised to find when I was sorting through the poems that I wanted to use for the book was that, like, they were pretty much equally divided. Like, I picked I think there was maybe like 70 poems in the book or something, and I picked the 70 that I wanted to use, and I just started sorting through and putting them into the sections. And they were pretty much equally, like there was maybe 22 in each or something like that. And I'm like, that is so weird. And to me it was just kind of a sign that, like, yeah, this is pretty much legit. The human being as a person is pretty divided in the things that we experience and how we deal with them. So anyway, that's where the name of the book came from, Centrifuge, because what it is, and on the first page there's a definition for a centrifuge, and it's a machine which spins rapidly around a fixed axis, generating energy through centrifugal force in order to separate the different substances or solutes within an individual being or solution. And so basically, I found in my own poetry that we really are centrifuges as people. Like, we experience things, and they all come into us differently, and we deal with them differently, and that's the centrifuge. And that's kind of what the book became too, because it's also divided into 3 sections, or solutes. That's actually how I have the title, just kind of funny. But anyway, so I'll be reading a little bit from each of the sections tonight, and yeah. So the 3 parts of the book that it's divided into, the first section is called Number Bloom, and that's the title of the first poem in that section, and they're all kind of poems just sort of about the nature, one of the natures within us that is kind of more rebellious and wanting to be just kind of freestyle and follow, like, the impulsive creative, and be comfortable with change and be comfortable with becoming whatever we are. So that's the first section. The second section is titled after the poem called How We Freeze, and they're all sort of poems that fall into this genre of feeling trapped and stifled and afraid of change, and just kind of stuck and stagnant in one place. And I think there's always a time in our lives when we deal with things that way, or day to day that we deal with things that way. And then the third is called The Progression of Falling. And they're all poems that are more focused, I think, in on things coming to an end, and more death-like images, and more, again, being comfortable with just that, the processes ending and cycles ending. And I don't know, you can take that however you want, like it's depressing or it's, just life, but again, I think it's something we all deal with. And anyway, all these sections, I encompass who we are. And I guess, to me, a big part of what I try to do in my own work is just kind of accept all of those things and just leave them, and not try to change it or warp it or preach something or come up with a solution or, but just to be comfortable in it and be like, well, this is just kind of how it is. And I don't know, like poetry that preaches, I don't really want to read that. I don't want to read it to people. It's not about reaching a conclusion, but about grappling with ideas and finding a precise and eloquent way and a unique way to express what is breathtakingly real, not necessarily a moral of any sort. And so, I don't know, I think we're all human beings, we deal with things differently, but there's connecting points in all of us, and if a poet can tap into that in a unique way and express it to someone where it clicks and just makes them shudder and say, whoa, that's exactly what I felt yesterday, and you just said it in this strange new way that I never would have thought. Like, that's what poetry is, and that's what I want people to be aware of. So, an example of this grappling is a poem I'm going to start off with. And interestingly enough, a line from it is on the tour shirts that Frank over there, woo, Frank, because he's amazing. He made tour shirts a couple days ago in a rushed, crazy manner, because that's how we've been doing everything this last month. But so a line from it, which you'll hear soon, is on the shirt, so check those out. Anyway, it's called Dichotomy of Grief. In the mind of a train, no one exists. No something lovely in noise dystopia thrums from a boy and girl's brain. We could live like this. And you'd heard cancer from the southern coast called it funny. Corroded voice, corroding a system of wires, an acid bath, not yet ready to join the Atlantic in forever falling away. Eats a path to your ear, Delta Hospice, waiting 6 states north to catch the contaminated Nile. You did not ask for this. You were not born for this kind of waiting. Shivering scotch, white noise trapped beneath the throne. A train denies this is really happening. Dichotomy is strange. We are not yet convinced of the trestle strength that its giving out would be tragic. Theoretically, we should feel ashamed to be both mute and mouthing beautiful. We are not convinced of this theory, and tar can be cheek for a moment, like cricket decor on sulfur, gleaming studded as if it knows a lure is fragile. Hang on for dear, heartbreaking awareness this is not a life, but a now famous bridge, unconventionally stunning as an end. As a slender trickle leads Jackson, laced in chemical and pooled in a foam vibration. The train negates its existence. We do not argue. You are not born a theorist. Thank you. So, to me, I don't know, that's just kind of an example in my work of a lot of things that I do in terms of not necessarily coming to this straight-up conclusion of this is what this emotion means, this is what the moral of the story is just, well, the things we struggle with as human beings. Let's see, where was I going next? Oh, another